Okay, so today, boys, we're going to continue on with looking at computational thinking and understanding what each one of the four components is about. So this document you have on your OneNote page, it's if you've looked at Sector, I've also included there as a PDF. The PDF is at the top of your page, but you don't need to worry about that. We're just going to look at this sheet. Okay, so we're going to first of all decompose the problem of making dinner. You've invited some people around for lunch or dinner, and you've decided what you're going to have. You're going to have hamburgers for a main course, and you're going to have chocolate cake for dessert. So there's your initial problem, making dinner. That has been decomposed or broken down into two areas. One, the main course, and the second one, the dessert. Now, we're going to ask you, what would you put? So if the first part is the problem of making the main course, and we've put down make hamburgers, what do you think you'd put in here? That's right. You would put make a chocolate cake. So you've got make a cake. So we'll put that in that part. Oops. Oh, dear me. And then we are subdividing those two problems up again. Now, you've got making hamburgers. So one thing you have to do is purchase ingredients. Another thing you have to do is prepare the fillings. What else might you have to do is the first layer of decomposing this making hamburgers, the problem of making hamburgers. Now, to help you along, we've got a word list here that's been given to you. So we've got purchase ingredients, we've got preparing fillings. What else do we need? So the fillings is one part, but the other side of things might be, that's right, preparing the rolls. So we would put in prepare rolls. Oops, can't help if I spelt rolls properly. You can make this smaller or larger. You can increase the size of your page if you need more space. And then the last thing that you would do might be to, I've got to get on the right bit to pull it down. From here, you would have to, the fillings, the bread, the other thing we haven't talked about is, out of this one, would be to cook the burgers or cook the meat. So that would be in that part there. So you add all of those up. Now you can, at this stage, also do making a cake and putting in the first line. So if this is purchasing ingredients, you'd probably purchase the ingredients for the cake. You'd prepare the cake mix. You'd have to, well, we've got cook the burgers here, so the other one there would probably be bake the cake or cook the cake. And then you might, if you look here, what else might you do? The final thing you might do would be, that's right. Then you would have to think, all right, you would then decompose each one of these particular problems. So here you might think, right, purchase ingredients, these problems, prepare rolls, this is what I have to do. They've decided just to get you to do one part, which is preparing the fillings. So in these fillings, we've got the first one, slicing cheese. What else might you put in there? So we've got cheese. If you look here, what's listed here, you've got some other foods. What do you think? You've got lettuce, you've got tomato, probably putting in those lettuce and tomato there. Then again, you could have done the tree diagrams. They're only getting you to decompose the problem of slicing up the cheese. So if you've got, get the cheese from the fridge, find a knife. You generally don't cut the cheese straight onto the table. You really should have something to help you if you're using a knife. So that might be get the chopping board, perhaps, do you think? And then the last one would be, so you've got the chopping board, you've got the cheese, you've got the knife, and then this one would be actually slicing the cheese. And then finally, getting the cheese out of the fridge. What sorts of things would you have to do? There's the list. Now, pretend that you are telling, like we saw that little robot video, you're telling a robot who doesn't know anything at all, so what sort of things would you have to tell them about getting the cheese out of the fridge? So this is you working on your first bit, was decomposing the problem of making dinner. So once you've done that, you work down to the next. And this is your next part, which is decomposing problems, which is pattern recognition. Now, if you remember what pattern recognition is, it's finding similarities so you become more efficient. So if you remember, I gave you the example that if I was making a cake and I found I didn't have any butter, I wouldn't go to the shop to buy the butter and then come back, and then go to the shop to buy some milk and then come back, and then realize I have to go to the shop again to buy some sugar. I would go to the shop only once, which is what they've said here, because we've got, if you remember, purchase ingredients. So if you think about it, what else might you do? Now, you're finding a knife. You wouldn't then chop up your cheese and then put the knife away and then go to find, you've got slicing the lettuce, then go back to the drawer, get the knife out, slice up the knife, wash it, put it back in the drawer, and then go and look, oh, I've got to slice tomatoes, go back to the drawer, take the knife out, slice up the tomato, and then go back, wash it up and put it back in the drawer. So that might be one thing you would do at the same time. You would just get the knives out, or more than one knife, out of the drawer and then put them on the bench. You might get, would you go to the fridge for the cheese and then go back, and then go to the fridge for the butter and then go back? Would you go, so these are just some of the things. And would you wash everything up one at a time, or would you wait and then wash everything up together at the end? I don't know. So you decide what you might do, and you've got to have 2 more examples of how you might streamline the processes so that you're not doing the same thing over and over again. Then you're going to work on abstraction. I'll get rid of this. What you've asked to do here would be to take out the unnecessary things, things that don't need to be done, things that don't need to be said. If you remember, abstraction is taking out all the unnecessary detail and coming up with only the things that you absolutely need to worry about. So to do it neatly, you can draw it by hand, but a lot of the boys like to use the shape. So remember, you go up to draw and shape. So I might just do this because it's easier. So here's our draw. Go up here. I'm going to get rid of this. And I might decide I like squares, or I might decide I like ovals. And I'm going to put it in the middle there. And so so I'm going to slice cheese. So if I'm putting sliced cheese, I would double click in there and sliced cheese, and then I would have my arrow going up that way. You would have thought about what you want to write beforehand. So, and then maybe this time around I might do squares. Then I'd put in what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to do here, and so on, so that I make a more simplified tree diagram than the one that's here. So slicing cheese, instead of writing all these things, how could you get rid of detail? So that's up to you. And then the last thing is you're going to do another algorithm. Here you've got all the steps you need to make a chocolate cake. However, if you look closely, you probably wouldn't add eggs one at a time to butter and sugar, and then bake for an hour, and then beat the butter and sugar, and then grease the tin, and then leave the baked cake on. So they're all jumbled up. So can you put them in the right order, those steps? Now, if you've never made a cake, you can go and look up a recipe and put them in the right order, or you can ask mum or dad to help you out to put, would it be C that came first? Would it be D that came first? Would it be, well, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be leaving the baked cake in the tin, but it might be preheating the oven, or it might be lining the tin with baking paper before you start making the cake. I don't know. See what you can come up with. So you don't have to write it all out, just put the letters in the right order. And then the last thing is come up with an algorithm for making some sort of food that you could eat for lunch or dinner if you like. So boys in the past have described making a hamburger, making a steak sandwich, making a salad sandwich, making their particular sandwich they liked. Someone had a souvlaki. So I want you to come up with the steps. You've already done algorithms, so this should be quite easy. And then you could test it out by making lunch perhaps for everybody at lunch today. Perhaps you could make lunch for your mum or dad, or your siblings who are at home, or I don't know. You could, I suppose, make something for morning tea if you have morning tea. So once you've finished that, boys, you've finished most of the work for this lesson. So you've only got the one worksheet, which is this one called Decomposing Problems. And then there is one more thing, however, I want to do. If you go back to Digitech, if you remember, I had a diary for reflections. So today's date in here, then the topic, which is 02 Decomposing Problems, and answer these two questions. What was the most interesting thing you learnt today? Was it useful? Why or why not? So I'd like you to put your answers to those questions as a reflection on today. Once you've done that, boys, you can go away and enjoy the rest of the day. Perhaps make a sandwich for morning tea or your lunch. This, in the past, most boys have taken about 40 minutes to do the whole thing. So I'm hoping that it doesn't take you too long to get this done. Of course, we've shared things in class at the same time and talked about stuff and done a few other bits and pieces. But I'm hoping that you'll be able to get this done in 40 minutes. So good luck, boys, and I'll have a look and see how you've gone.